Yo, Tony D here. I'm starting off a series. I'm going to call it Dark Mode. And it's going to be all the darker stuff. Black Summer, Warren Ellis, and Juan Jose Ripe. What a pairing. For me, it's a great pairing. Prologue. Let's get into it. This is the stuff I really have to look for. These little stories. I think they brought this bad boy 2007? It's been a minute. It's crazy how time flies. But it's, just to start off, it is a brutal, politically charged superhero thriller. And it asks the question, what happens when a hero decides the system is too broken to fix and takes justice into their own hands? We'll go from there. We start off, White House. And you have a little figure right there. You get this alternation, different things happening. And you were introduced to this character he's pretty much a drunk right now. Just a rough character. And you got this guy on the White House lawn. And it's this dude's birthday. He's down and out. And then we get... What's really cool about this issue, it gives you what you need in a prologue, everything. This is the down and out guy talking to, I believe this is the guy walking to the White House. They're talking about human modification, where you get a second cerebral cortex, and it gives you the ability to essentially you're a supercomputer where you can see everything around you. It's really vague right here, but that's where we're at. It's something that powerful, and it's something doable. And they're talking about it, how, hey, we can be superheroes literally with these modifications. And yeah, it gets to this. The intelligence of the writing, the sciencey stuff, to where it's believable. Sometimes I'll research some of the words they use, and we'll get into that later into the first issue, but it's all about being a hero with these modifications. And then we're at the White House, and you're getting a really good background story of these characters. They're called the Seven Guns, and they were created to fight corruption in their city. A real small scope type deal. And they give you it's a real comprehensive, just for this little bit of how they came to be. I'm assuming after they fixed the corruption where they were at, they fizzled off. They're not a team right now anymore. And this is John Horus. He's one, they call him a vigilante, and he's still in action. And you get the whole, hey, do we need him? That whole, I think we all know. It's that whole story of, think about it, we have superhumans, and do we need them? Because they're very stinking powerful, as we find out. There's a lot of chatter on the news. It's a global thing too. And this is beautiful, where they know John, that's his name, John Horus, is at the White House, and they're wondering why, but he does work with the president and his advisors, and the Seven Guns did branch out from the city they were in that was corrupt to working more globally. And they weren't there for when September 11th occurred. They were in another country. And that's an important piece of what's going to happen. And she is just, oh my God. And yeah, this is why we're on dark mode. But Ripe, he's the guy to draw something to this. And he just walks up to the podium, and he addresses them and tells them, 10 minutes ago, I just executed the president, his advisors, a few other people that got in the way. And he even explains the burden of his actions, but he doesn't feel we're free anymore in America. It's the whole thing in the beginning I was talking about, how when a system is so broke, somebody this powerful decides to intervene to fix it. It's taking justice into their own hands. It's intelligently written. I'd highly, if you're into great writing, Ellis delivers. He truly believes he was deliberately out of the country when 9/11 hit, and he believes that there's manipulation going on, that it just has to stop. This guy right here, he's actually one of the creators of this extra cerebral cortex that provides these abilities. Really a leader of the team, the Seven Guns. And there was an eighth gun that they talk about that died mysteriously, maybe a government hit, but John Horus lays it all out, and he even gets to the point where he's, hey, we're going to start voting again, and it's going to be paper and pencil, and it'll all be counted, because his powers are that broad of a spectrum. And you still really don't know the breadth of their powers, but it seems they're connected to the internet or something like that, where they can see and know a lot. And this creator here, he is, oh, this is not good, because if one of them does that, there's probably going to be, and there is, an attack on the other members of the Seven Guns. And he's calling to just, hey, not good. And I love this cool color, warm color, cool, warm. And it ends with, and this character was involved in an explosion that killed his girlfriend and wounded him where he loses his leg. And we're introduced to this character, Frank. This is an important character, which leads into issue 1. This is just a prologue, and I'm sucked in, I'm sold just on that, what happened. The issue 1, we get more into, hey, this just happened. I think we're a couple of hours after that happened, and the news is talking about it, and they're giving you more background information on the Seven Guns. The regular people, they need answers. They need more than just what he presented. And this is that guy, Frank, that was at his door. This is a flashback. And they're talking more about the cerebral cortex and the human enhancements. You're getting more of an idea of what this is, what it does. It's activated by a keyword. His is Baker Street. And it just provides where he can see through a tank, as he says. It provides him some ability with sight. Pretty much dead shot to the 1000th degree of accuracy. And the gun is ridiculously powerful. They also describe here, the inception of this group was to fight corrupt crime in their city, where it was a corrupt police state pretty much. And they were doing something about it. That's what heroes do. We get into the meat of it here, where after John Horus did what he did at the White House, this guy supposedly is dead, but he's not. He's actually now working for the government, which the Seven Guns were against, which is going to happen. Essentially what's happening is they need to eliminate the rest of the Seven Guns because one of them went rogue. It's one bad, the rest got to go because they're super powerful. It's a clever talk. This is a second gen of the enhancements, and he's been working with the government on stuff. He talks about how his enhancements don't even work anymore. He hasn't used them. They can track them when their enhancements are on and when they're using their communication devices. They're linked together. I don't think it's psychic. It's more than that. It's pretty sciencey. If you're into science stuff, you'll love this. He's just casually telling this guy, hey, we need to eliminate you. John Horus is Him and his team gotta go. It was real casual how Frank just walks away, leaves that guy there to do the deed. And he's just, hey, can I get a drink and smoke a cigarette? And he's, sure. And this is important here. Frank actually tells the guy that the explosion was meant to kill him, not his girlfriend. And that's why we get this flashback here. He's just finding out the truth of this. And this is clever. Warren Ellis and Ripe are not pulling any punches. Here we go. This is where Ripe excels. He took a drink and gave him a shot. And then, this surprised me. This is really cool. He uses his word, Baker Street. He just hasn't been using his powers at all. That's why they think he's depowered. But this is part of what I was talking about, how he could see into people when he activates his powers. And he sees the second cerebral cortex in his body. And it does something to his arm, superpowers his arm. He gives him a smack. Ripe, his artwork just vibrates with intensity. Sometimes you have to have a certain artist to draw certain things, I think, and Ripe is definitely the guy for this. It is just explosive, exciting. It just vibrates with intensity. It is high octane action. It didn't take long to get to this either. His powers are good to go. He's fighting this dude a little bit more. Gives him the old, that's some old street fighting stuff. And he puts up somewhat of a fight. Look at that. That's why it's dark mode. And this guy, keep in mind, he's a second gen. You would think better, right? But this guy's smart. I said, he's one that helped invented these cerebral cortex powers, and it's done. Boom. He's got his gun, and that gun is next level. But he took some shots. Yeah, I think he's still drunk. He just pukes. The dude hasn't done anything in years. They have a thing called the main line. When they hit that blue, that means they're using something that's related to their power. The main line gets them in contact with the others if their activation is there. And this was very interesting where this character, Zoe, she's explaining it's some deep physics stuff. I'm ready to go down that rabbit hole and see if this stuff is really a thing. We're talking about quantum calculations, and she's explaining, okay, if I solve an equation, does her computation of the problem affect the solution? There's a cause and effect there. That quantum stuff, it's stinking cool stuff, but it can really get you looped around. Pretty much, just to keep it contained and keep it rolling, she's come up with a way where if she can see equations, she can get super speed, and that's going to be her enhancement. And he's pretty beat up. He's trying to get help. He knows how dire it is. There's a hunt for these guys now. And this is important right here. We flip over to John Horus, and we don't know yet what's going on with the eyeballs, but I suspect that's a super powerful thing. I think he's the most powerful out of all of them, just to do what he did. But what's really interesting, he's on top of the Empire State Building, and he's talking about they should send planes after me, the movie, which is weird. But they can explain that later, why he's acting that way. And people just don't try anymore. And that's why there's people like him. He mentions that. The whole superhero mythos, it's Warren Ellis is bringing it with, I wouldn't call it a fresh idea. I think it's an old idea. He's challenging it big time. Zoe makes it. He's got to be extracted. He knows it. And she's pretty much telling him, if you looked outside, we are hunted. Another important part, which this goes back to John Horus playing King Kong on the Empire State Building. The other guys haven't shut off their powers, their enhancements, and it's made them insane. Now we get a layer to the puzzle. Was it morally right, or is he just insane which is feeding into, I don't know, delusions of grandeur, maybe. She's making the distinction that since the rest of the team is insane, then John Horus is insane. Based on that logic, he would be the most sane because he hasn't used his powers. I totally love this story. I'll review the whole thing. Ellis doesn't pull any punches here. He's interrogating the superhero mythos through the lens of real-world consequences. And Ripe's artwork, it is dense and kinetic. I think that's a good way to describe his artwork. It really is kinetic. It has a lot of movement, and that vibrating creates a tension where it just ratchets it up. You look at some art, and sometimes it's hard to pinpoint why you're feeling something you're feeling. That artwork, it creates tension for sure. This is going to be a ride. I'm telling you, stick with me on the ride. It is, we're talking about power, accountability, and it explodes with super science. Let's get this other bad boy taped up, the prologue. Great prologue. Just get right to it. The whole assassination of everybody. He just comes out, literally tells them, hey, we're going to revoke, the system's broke, and we're using paper and pencil. And he has the ability to count all that up. If anything, get the prologue and read it, and you'll see what I mean with Ellis crafting the whole premise of it. It's very intelligent writing. You don't see that all the time. It's believable if stuff like this existed. Let me know something dark that you're into. That's how I find new things. It is summertime, right? Get that black summer.